A new Star Wars movie out in time for Christmas? That could only mean a ton of new merchandise. There's only one item, however, that features augmented reality lightsaber fights. Is it any good? Let's find out. Now, I'll admit I'm only a casual Star Wars fan, but I have to agree that lightsabers are incredibly cool. Enter Star Wars Jedi Challenges. It uses your mobile phone, a light-up beacon, a headset, and of course, a lightsaber to give you, as realistic as possible, lightsaber fights. For this video, I've managed to whiz it inside the headset a camera so you can see exactly what it's like to play, unlike any video on YouTube. Our first component is the LED beacon. It's got a soft silicone top and the switch on the bottom goes two ways so you can have blue or purple. Next up is the headset. It seems really high quality. It's got nice patterns around it, some glossy surfaces, altogether a pretty sophisticated piece of kit. Opening up the end exposes the tray that slides out and you put your phone inside. On the bottom is a cutout where the screen goes through and reflects to the mirror so you can see it in front of your eyes. On the other side are some menu buttons that are rarely used. The star of the show, of course, is a lightsaber. It's got a really nice weight to it. It's plastic, but it feels like something metal. On top is another silicone light, which is used for tracking. Got two buttons that actually work, one for the main menus and then the matrix activation, which is used for secondary functions, as well as starting your lightsaber. On the bottom is a USB charging port and an LED to tell you that the lightsaber's on. Here is the Star Wars Jedi Challenges app. To streamline this video, I've already done the initial setup, so things are already paired. It's simply a matter of turning on the lightsaber and then waiting for it to vibrate and repair again. At this stage, the green tick will come on to tell you that you're ready. Clicking the calibrate button prompts you to wave it around in a figure 8, and after a couple of seconds it'll vibrate and tell you that that's ready to go too. Nothing else is required at this stage, so we can swipe to the side and we're prompted with the launch screen. Back on the insert inside the headset, we clip it open and we put our phone in face down. There are two retaining clips to take care of the horizontal and vertical positioning. Generally you want to get them as tight as you can. When you flip it over, hopefully it's all aligned and you can click launch. The last thing is to watch out for the rubber tab, push it into place and plug in the USB micro cable. It comes with 3 different ones depending on what type of phone you have. Alright, let's go. In game, the main menu is a star system, and then on that interface we have on the left our strategic battle, on the right our holo chess, and in the middle our lightsaber fights. So that's what we'll go into, and this is the second planet, not the first, because it means we can fight stormtroopers instead of droids, which is much more exciting. So the way it works is you look around, you can see the round cursor there, and then you click the button on the lightsaber to select. Alright, here we have it, ready for our first lightsaber fight. Loading times are pretty short, and then we get this screen and it's telling us to press the activation matrix. Very exciting moment, and here is our lightsaber. Augmented reality has truly started. How cool is this? Look down, strike the ground, and the lightsaber works. However, I have left myself open to some enemies in the meantime. They walk up, I can slash them. You'll notice before they shoot, their blasters glow, and then it's like a game of tennis. You can move the lightsaber, reflect them back, and knock them down like that. Very satisfying. You'll notice the camera maybe looks a little bit zoomed in. That's just the way it is with the GoPro in, but I will say I had that same sensation when I was playing normally. It felt like characters were a little bit too close to me, and I became a bit disorientated at times because of that. But it didn't really detract from the experience too much. It's still a really fun game. So this is the first level of lightsaber fighting for the second planet, so it's still pretty easy. Lots of stormtroopers coming in. They don't really do a great deal. You can walk forward and it feels like maybe you get a little bit closer and then you can take a step back to retreat to safety, but I would like to see a more realistic feeling of being able to move around on the platform underneath you, because as you'll see later on in other modes, it can definitely track where you are and do a good job of creating that 3D environment sensation. For now, I'm just concentrating on surviving. I think I need a little bit more practice at being able to deflect the blaster shots back exactly where I want, but it's still fun, nonetheless. Okay, as I kick ass, I would like to explain some little subtle things that you might not pick up straight away. Firstly, you'll notice every now and again you see a flash of the other side of the goggles along the middle of the screen. It can be a little bit confusing. You'll think there's an enemy over to the far left or the far right when there's actually not. This is partly in this video due to the fact that the camera is wobbling a little bit as I move my head, but I did still get the same sensation while playing the game, and I suppose given enough time and familiarity with it, that it wouldn't really be that much of a problem. Another thing you'll notice is that when I'm deflecting back the blaster shots, it seems to be a little bit forgiving. Sometimes you can see it visibly just miss, and it still seems to get them. So I haven't explored to see if there's any difficulty mode, but it seems like it's set up for beginners, that's for sure. Okay, so that was a complete lightsaber battle, and we're going to go back to the first planet, which is Naboo, and I'm going to show you one of the other modes, which is the strategic war one. I would say it's pretty much like tower defense, and I'll give you some uninterrupted gameplay here so you can see exactly how it works. Once again, loading time's pretty reasonable, and as you look across the ground, you'll notice on the left we have our own base, and then on the right we have enemy base. It does bark instructions to you the whole time. Probably one thing worth mentioning here is the interface. The interface is really cool. The augmented reality does a really fantastic job as you look down, but you'll notice as I lift my lightsaber up into my field of view, all of a sudden it becomes a menu, and I simply move my hands to the left and right and then press the lightsaber button to control those buttons, and then I hold the lightsaber out in front of me to then place the unit. Here I'm about to kick ass and drop down a Jedi, and the battle has definitely started. So you can see that Jedi running around and using his lightsaber to chop down all the enemy droids. Pretty entertaining, really. I think my mission here is to retrieve droids from the enemy buildings, but I didn't really work that out at first. I was too busy trying to film, so if it seems like I'm a little bit awkward as you're watching me play here, that's because, well, I was. Speaking of awkward, when you're playing the game, especially in the lightsaber mode, you feel like you're moving pretty well. You feel like you're really kicking ass, but then seeing the picture-in-picture here, and the experience is similar after watching other people play, they look pretty awkward. And there's no getting around it unless you're consciously trying to mimic the way Jedis move in the movies and do some cool moves and all of that type of thing. You're going to find that you pretty much look like an idiot as you're playing this, but that's alright. If you're really worried about that, the solution is to simply play it when no one else is around, and you can try and mimic the Jedis as much as you want, go really hard, or you can just be efficient like I was trying to do and move as little as possible, and that's the way you can play it. So you'll notice this is about the point that I realised what I was actually meant to be doing. So I went back to my little base and I clicked on the lightsaber button, and for the first time I observed there was a little R2-D2 style droid travelling back to my base. Now I assume the enemy is trying to take that out, and therefore all my other forces are doing a great job of distracting them. So I followed it very carefully, and then why not do more of the same thing if it means I'm probably going to win the level. I think one thing I'll say about this mode is, for a beginner, you end up just being a bit of a spectator. So I'd be watching and then all of a sudden realise, oh, I haven't put out any troops in a while. So go to the menu and all of a sudden more points, or however it works, had built up, and I had enough to place several in one time, which I did. This early level is way too easy, considering I had no idea what I was doing. But you know what, that's probably good for a game like this. I don't think this is ever pointed towards a hardcore gamer. This is towards a Star Wars fan and someone who's just having the experience. This is the type of thing you would get out if you owned it when someone came around for a social visit at your house, and try and wow them and make them say how cool it is with the lightsaber experience. This is not the type of thing where you want to get really deep into it. Having said that, I haven't played much further into this mode, so it probably, as you would hope, scale and get harder and harder as you went on. So hopefully it's a matter of easy to play, hard to master. There we have it. Due to my supreme victory, I've unlocked a starfighter, and that pretty much sums up that mode from what I've experienced so far. I don't think most people would buy this game to play that mode, but you know what? It's probably going to be fun if you're really going to use the product and get the most out of it as you can. Okay, back to the main menu. That's the longest the loading times ever are, is after you win a battle. And this time I'm going to show you the Holo chests. Now, like I said in the intro, I'm only a casual Star Wars fan. I do remember a scene in one of the movies where they were playing this game on the Millennium Falcon, but in terms of recognising the detail, I don't really know any more than that.
The Holo chess variation you will learn has been played for millennia. Let the Force be your guide as you move your pieces. You will begin by playing a pre-programmed...
So here you see me moving my head quite a bit just to see how three-dimensional this was, and at first I thought it wasn't particularly three-dimensional at all. But soon you'll see I start to actually walk and move around the board, and the characters rotate, so this is probably the best mode for feeling like the augmented reality is really working out and creating that 3D experience. The reason I started doing this is because I couldn't work out how to select a creature until I started walking around, and then finally when I clicked right at the base on the floor, not on the actual creature, with the activation matrix, not the main button, I was able to do something. Now really when I say I was able to do something, it's a bit of a lie, because although I was able to do something, I had no idea what I was meant to be doing. So once again, this is from the point of view of a casual fan who doesn't really understand this version of chess. I understand proper chess quite well, but this version of chess was quite new to me. So I just clicked and clicked randomly, and then it seemed like I could in fact move my character, which was somewhat exciting at the time.
And a creature called a Kenton Strider. Be mindful of it, for what was gone can sometimes return, just as nothing is lost in the Force.
So off that little spiel about the creature, showing its options, and it seemed to jump in and attack me immediately. I thought that was a little bit unfair, since my first move I like to do is move closely. But I thought, now that it's right on top of me, I'm going to take my chance, and I was very pleased with the result. Very pleased indeed. Time for the other computer player's turn. It once again moved into the center, and I thought, well, this guy over here looks pretty lonely, so I'll see if I can attack in one go. After clicking randomly for a few times, it seems like I could in fact do two moves, and I was able to attack. And then I was really worried because my opponent got to attack again. At that point, my big guy went down, and I thought, ooh, how am I going to go in this? Pretty embarrassing if I lose on the first ever tutorial game. But sure enough, my character did the job, finished it off, and I won the match.
First match of Holo Chess.
So there you have some uninterrupted footage of how the Holo Chess works, and I have to say that if the strategic war mode is a bit of a novelty, then that is definitely niche. I can't imagine too many people putting in the hours to really master that and make it the whole way to the end. Maybe that's better for a really hardcore fan. Now, like I said, afterwards the loading times are particularly slow, and while it's on the screen, if that is switched to blue instead of purple, the game will not work. The first time I loaded it up, I got absolutely nowhere, and I had to get on the internet and look it up, and then I reread the instructions, and sure enough, I was meant to have it on purple. Okay, here's a battle that probably everyone has been waiting for. It's pretty fun to take down droids and stormtroopers, but really, you buy a game like this because you want to have a lightsaber versus lightsaber fight. Notice here the music really picks up, and we're fighting Darth Maul from the early Star Wars movies. It's got a health bar there, and you'll notice that yellow graphic on the screen that is prompting you exactly where to block. And at the start here, I wasn't particularly good at that. I just wanted to slash and hope that I got his health down before mine went down. Speaking of your own health bar, you don't really seem to have one, but I've noticed as I've tried some of the harder modes, as you're getting further into the game and losing health or acquiring damage, more and more red marks appear around the screen, almost like red shadow marks in glass, and when the whole thing shatters, that's when you're dead and you lose the level and you have to try again. This mode, I have to say, although fun, seemed a little bit manic. There was a lot going on, and you kind of forget about blocking the first time you play it, and a lot of the time you're swiping him when he's mid-animation, and it seems like he should be getting hurt because he's not blocking, but he doesn't. It seems like it's almost on rails, and you're kind of stuck doing exactly what it wants you to do, probably because it wants to get through all the animation and things like that. Now you notice those moments where everything slows down and he pauses, that's inviting you to have a critical hit. The first time before you take on this boss, you do a little tutorial with the lady from the menu, and she has this little droid, and she teaches you how to recognize critical hits and to swipe the right direction. The other thing you probably noticed a little bit earlier was a hand appeared on the screen, and you actually unlock these force abilities before they're explained to you. So the first time I beat this boss, I unlocked the ability. It said I could select it before I started the next round, but it wasn't until I finished a whole nother round that it explained to me that I had to hold the activation matrix button and then push forward really fast on the lightsaber. Another bumbling victory for teaching tech. Would have been cooler if I could chop him in half like in the movie, but what can you do? This long loading screen lets me ponder the product overall, now that I've gone through all the modes. I have talked about a lot of negative little things, but overall it is quite fun. The menus are really slick, the lightsaber feels really heavy and well made. Sometimes the game loses its place and its direction, and all you have to do is look straight ahead, hit that main lightsaber button, and your lightsaber will be pointing forward again. That's a wrap, back to the studio. This review unit was purchased for $350. For a casual gamer, I'm not sure how much I would recommend it. I mean, it's cool and all, but do you really want to be spending that kind of money for a little bit of fun? Where this truly shines is for the hardcore Star Wars fan. That feeling of seeing your lightsaber extend out in front of you and then using it to block laser shots and then strike down enemies can't be had anywhere else. For the pure hardcore Star Wars fan, this item is a must-have. The quality of the components is top-notch, and although there's no plans listed on their website at the moment, let's hope in future they release some future games or even updates for this one that utilize the hardware. Until next time, may the Force be with you. G'day, it's Michael again. If you liked the video, then please click like. If you want to see more content like this in future, click subscribe and make sure you click on the bell to receive every notification. If you really want to support the channel and see exclusive content, become a patron. Visit my Patreon page. See you next time.